Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about memory in infants. Like I said, we have some habituation studies that have allowed us to figure out what babies might recognize from their past, things like that. But there have been a lot of really creative research studies on infants that help us to understand that they can really recognize objects, that they can recall things from the past in a lot more sophisticated way than I think a lot of us think about babies. Because we can't, as adults, remember anything from prior to probably on average about age 3. If you remember something prior to that, it was probably a big thing, like the birth of a sibling, or maybe a time that you were admitted to the hospital or were in an accident or something pretty big and dramatic or traumatic. Those are the kinds of things that an adult might remember from prior to age 3. But for a lot of us who had, relatively benign, infancy periods, and, I was the last born child in my family, so I didn't even have like a sibling being born. I don't really honestly remember anything that I could very confidently tell you happened prior to the age of 3. Like, I don't really directly remember anything like that. And that's very normal for us adults to sort of have what they call childhood amnesia, where we really can't remember anything from that period. But while the infant is in the period, they do in fact form memories and have access to those memories. And in fact, a lot of those memories that we form when we're infants are probably still with us as adults, but we don't have the context tied into the memory. And so we don't really know that we know this because it was something that happened when we were really little. It's probably just something that maybe affects our emotions or affects our sort of knee-jerk reactions, I like to call them. Some people call them triggering responses. Those things may have their roots in very early childhood, and we just don't have the context to realize that they are coming to us from childhood. So I wanted to have you check out this video where they're going to say, oh, a recent study. And you're going to say from the content, from the appearance of this video, this is not very recent. This is actually a study that was conducted in the late 80s. And now it's become sort of a standard for assessing what a baby recalls. And I think you'll find it a really interesting design. It's described in our textbook, but now you get to see it conducted live. So I will see you on the other side of this little study.